An old love returns. Shep had been slowing down, as old dogs do, but he seemed to be doing okay. He still greeted her with a gleeful wagging tail, he still followed her from room to room, and he still leaned against her leg with quiet devotion. Then, one day, he simply couldn't get up. He tried, but his body wouldn't obey. His legs, once strong and eager to chase after birds and squirrels, had failed him. He lay on the floor, panting, his deep brown eyes locked onto hers, filled with something that made her heart shatter, trust. Even in his weakness, he looked at her as if he knew she could make it better. She rushed him to the vet, her hands trembling as she stroked his soft golden fur in the car, whispering reassurances she wasn't sure she believed. Diagnosis: congestive heart failure. Her worst fear, spoken aloud. There was nothing left to do but take him home, to give him one last day surrounded by love. They carried him to the sunroom, his favorite spot in the house. The place where he had napped in the golden sunlight, where he had watched the world go by through the wide glass windows. Now, he lay still, his breath shallow, his body suddenly exhausted. She and her husband Mac sat beside him, taking turns whispering to him, stroking his fur, telling him all the things they needed him to know, how much he was loved, how much joy he had brought them, that he was favored as one of the family, and how they would never forget him. She had been here before. She had loved and lost before. Years ago, another golden retriever had been part of their family, a dog who had played and lived alongside Shep for years before crossing over the Rainbow Bridge. They had been inseparable, brothers, in every way that mattered. And now, Shep was the last one left. And he too was leaving. He grew sicker by the minute. She stood there, watching over him, when her husband's voice broke the silence. Mac's voice was barely a whisper. "Isn't that Benny?" he murmured in disbelief. "What's wrong with his legs?" She frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "Look at them." He pointed a little ways off. Her eyes followed his trembling finger, and her breath caught in her throat. Shep lay quietly, an occasional shallow movement showed he was still breathing. But now she and Mac looked again and recognized their long-dead dog, another golden retriever named Benny. There she was in living color, but one thing was shocking: Benny was white and glowing, even her legs. She knew it was not a trick of the light or of the shadows. They were glowing, fuzzy, covered in a shimmering haze, as though something unseen was wrapped around him. Benny looked at them for a minute, then turned and disappeared. They both turned to look at Shep, and their baby boy was gone. She looked up at her husband, and he looked back at her with wide, disbelieving eyes. "Do we just see that?" she whispered. He nodded, his face pale with wonder. "I saw it." They both knew. There was no logical explanation. No tricks of the light. No reason for this strange, beautiful phenomenon. Except one. Her old golden retriever had come back. Not for her, but for Shep. In that moment, something shifted inside her. The grief did not disappear, but it softened. Shep would not be alone. A brother had returned to take him by the paw, to guide him beyond this world, to a place where love never ends. She and her husband sat with Shep for hours, the angelic haze lingering around them, a quiet, unseen presence offering comfort. She imagined Shep standing once more, young and strong, his brother by his side. She imagined them running together again, tails wagging, disappearing into the golden light. She will mourn all her babies forever, but now she carries a quiet certainty. She knows what she saw. She knows that love is never lost. Animals, too, have souls. All living beings have a spirit that survives beyond this life. And sometimes, if we are lucky, we get a glimpse of the love waiting for us on the other side. For those who believe in life after life, what do you think? Have you ever caught a glimpse of a beloved pet from the other side?